This is all a very complicated and sad situation. About 4 years ago, my wife and partner of 8 years passed away due to complications after the birth of our second son. I, 28M, was deployed at the time and completely devastated. After flying home, I felt that nothing would make me happy again. My sons, 6M and 4M, are great, but overwhelming, so I asked a sister of one of my Marine buddies, Cass, 24F, to help out. She had been friends with my wife, and she agreed in exchange for a place to stay. At the time, Cass was only 20 years old and in quite a bit of debt due to her extremely abusive ex-boyfriend, whom she had finally left about 3 months earlier. During the first few weeks of her helping out with the boys, she asked to borrow money to see a doctor due to shaking hands and other complications. I happily obliged. She was an angel, doing all of the cooking and cleaning and keeping my young family together. It turned out that she had developed some sort of neurological disorder, probably brought on by repeated abuse. At the time, it seemed simple. I had good insurance, she needed healthcare, I never thought I'd be able to move on from my wife, and she was afraid of intimacy. I agreed that I would marry her but keep our platonic relationship. She promised not to burden me with her debt, and we had a prenuptial agreement and all. I know that this is fraud of the government, but we were both so damaged and needed somebody, if not intimately. The past 3 years have been about as good as expected, if not better. Cass is better than great. She keeps the house spotless, has food ready every night when I get home, and has been working overnight as a baker and almost has her debt paid off. With the boys, she is a saint. She tells them about their mother, shows them pictures, takes them to fun places, and even taught them how to read. Sometimes the 4-year-old calls her mommy, but she shushes him and reminds him that her name is Cass, and that mommy is the angel whose picture is above the fireplace. Once her debt is fully paid off, the kids are in school, and she saves up a bit of money, she is going to go into a nursing program. Our relationship is still platonic but very caring. I've cried on her shoulders more times than I can count, and she's done the same. She seems to understand me whenever I'm hurt, upset, or angry. The problem is that I think I might be falling for her. I've been noticing little things, her scent, her smile, her laugh. The way she smiles with her eyes when she sees me, how much my boys love her. Not to mention that she's gorgeous, hardworking, and one of the strongest people I've ever encountered. A few nights ago, I almost kissed her after we had put the boys to bed, and her hugs goodbye have started lasting a little bit longer. The other day, she was taking a nap in my bed, and I wanted to join her. Not in an overly intimate way, but just to lay with her, and hold her, and maybe even kiss her. I don't know what to do or how to even bring this up. It's been 4 years since I lost my wife, and I thought nobody could replace her, but there have been days where my thoughts have been occupied with Cass, and I haven't even thought about my wife. I feel bad about it, and I still miss her, but I never thought that I'd be able to move on. I don't know how to bring it up. I don't want to scare Cass or make her uncomfortable, but this is becoming more difficult than I could have ever imagined. I was thinking about asking her to get dinner, just the two of us, and bringing it up. But what if she refuses? How can I gauge her interest? If it means anything, the other day she was having a hard time with the boys, so I brought her home some of her favorite flowers. She was extremely giddy and gave me another lasting hug, and then she gave me a quick kiss on the lips. I was taken aback, but she pranced around, finishing dinner and putting the flowers in a vase. What does this mean? Edit, screw it, I've called her favorite fancy restaurant and made a reservation. Her brother, Joe, said he could watch the kids. I'm going to tell her how I feel during dessert. Update 1. Last night was really hectic at first. So we got to the restaurant pretty early, but luckily they had a table. She ordered wine, and we made small talk for a while. It seemed forced, and I knew that I had to tell her soon. So, before the entrees even came, I said that I had something to talk to her about. She didn't smile and told me that she already knew, and that Joe had told her. My heart almost stopped beating at that moment. I hurriedly told her that I was so sorry, I didn't want her to find out that way, and that I wanted to tell her myself. She shook her head, frowned, and said that it was okay, she just wanted me to be happy, and that I deserved it. I told her that I didn't want to stress her out or make her uncomfortable, but I just needed to tell her and see how she felt, and that it was completely up to her. She gave me a look and said that it actually was up to me, and just to do what made me happy. She said that she was probably going to move out after her program ended, and promised to stay out of the way until then. It was then that I realized something was a bit off, and asked what Joe had told her. She said that he told her I wanted to take her out to dinner to tell her that I had started developing feelings for a girl, and wanted to ask Cass if it would be okay if I asked this girl out. It was then I realized that Joe had set me up for the most climactic pickup line ever to exist. Our entrees came, and I explained that, yes, I had started developing feelings for a girl, I just didn't want it to mess up what we had. She said that it wouldn't mess anything up, she still loved the boys and would take care of them in the house. I continued to then explain that I wasn't going to ask the girl on a date though, and she asked incredulously, why not? Then I dropped my smoothest line I've ever dropped. Because I'm already on a date with her. She gave me this look, then she looked away, smiled, and shook her head and asked, really? I nodded and told her that I cared about her more than anybody else, that I loved our family, and that I had fallen in love with her. She then took a drink of wine, rolled her eyes, and said, about effing time. I'll never forget what happened next. Maybe it was a faux pas, but I leaned across the table and kissed her, accidentally spilling her wine, but neither of us cared, and we kissed for about a minute. After leaving the restaurant, we got ice cream and sat around and kissed some more before heading home. Joe was sitting on our couch, watching one of those VH1 dating shows with a crap-eating grin on his face. Cass ran in, screaming at him that he ruined everything and that she was going to have to move in with mom now. We let him believe it for about 5 seconds before bursting into laughter. He shook my hand and told me that the boys were sleeping and left. I picked Cass up, kissed her, and carried her to my room where we made out for like 2 hours and snuggled the heck out of each other. She isn't ready for anything else, but emphasized yet. I'll give her all the time in the world. At one point, my youngest came in because of a nightmare, and brought his puppy, claiming that doggy was scared, so we let him in. I woke up early to make everyone breakfast, and am about to go and kiss my wife goodbye, and ask my boss for the second part of the day off so that I can spend more time with her while the boys are at school. Update 2. My day has been crazy. Everything has been going wonderfully lately though. It was somewhat strange at first explaining it to our friends and family, but most of them had already caught on, including my sons, who act as if nothing has changed. I'm pretty sure the little ones knew the entire time. Anyways, last night I came home, and Cass was out of it. I asked her what was wrong, and she told me that her ex-boyfriend got parole last week. I was flabbergasted since she should have been able to testify at his parole hearing. Apparently, the crime that he was incarcerated for was unrelated to the abuse, which I had always assumed was the reason, but Cass had been assured it would put him away for a decade at least, and had been far too afraid to testify against him or press charges. Apparently, he'd been arrested for this felony, and when he was being held, he asked her to post bail, but instead, she asked my first wife for help moving out and moving on. She knows that she should have gone to the police, and is guilt-ridden and upset about it now. I know that she's going to be safe because if he tries to even contact her, I'll take legal recourse to make sure that he doesn't so much as touch her. I've taken off work today, but promise that even when I go back, I'll have my buddies stopping by throughout the day. I don't know how to make her feel safe, but I've contacted my lawyer about filing a restraining order, and he said it shouldn't be too hard, but she's a mess. I just don't know how to make her believe that she's safe. I doubt this piece of trash will come around, but you never know. Update 3. First of all, I would like to apologize for not keeping you guys updated, and I realize that a lot of you really care about how my life is going with Cass. The answer is pretty well now. Things got tough for a while when her ex was released from prison last year. She was so afraid that he'd contact her, until he did. I remember that night like it was 5 minutes ago. Somebody rang our doorbell, and my oldest answered. He asked for Cass, and she told the boys to go upstairs and gave me a look, and I knew, but she didn't look scared. Her ex apologized, begged for forgiveness, and asked for a second chance. But she was so brave and told him no, and asked him to leave. He did, and he tried to contact her a few more times before we got an order of protection against him. Last I heard, he moved upstate to live with his dad or something. About 7 months ago, we finally consummated our marriage. The boys are doing great, and Cass got a pretty good job. We're expecting our first child in February and couldn't be more excited, so you could say that life is pretty good right now. Update 4. Sorry for not updating. It was a pretty rough pregnancy, but everything turned out great. Little Therese was 9 pounds at birth, and as bald as I am. She's way easier than the boys were, she hardly ever cries and is the most photogenic baby ever. Our youngest son is completely smitten and always tries to help, and it's less cute than you think. Other than new fatherhood, there's not much to update. I'm home watching the baby today while Cass is out, so I should be around for a while.